All right. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Dr. Patrick Lockwood coming back to you live on Facebook. Um, so I've been doing these chats for a minute now, and I've been talking a lot about fear and a lot about wellness because, again, these are big things in today's world that I think we need to be discussing. There's a lot of fear that we experience, and there's a lot of wellness lifestyle tips that I think we all just don't take advantage of simply because of how we've conditioned our minds and how we have scheduled our lives. And it's easy to forget the little things that are very important in order for us to have a healthy and fulfilling life, a daily life. One of the things that I think I haven't spoken about with you all yet is this idea of gratitude. So, depending upon what culture you come from, or what religion you practice, or what philosophical beliefs you hold, you think of gratitude a little bit differently. And for the purposes of what I do and the purposes of, the book that I'm writing and things like that, I think it'd be useful if we incorporated a little bit of gratitude into our wellness lifestyle. Because honestly, we're probably bombarded by negative thoughts all day and negative experiences. Like I always talk about, I'm in Los Angeles and there's a lot going on here, a lot of traffic, a lot of violence, things like that here. It's a good city, but there are these natural things that occur here. And one of the things that I forget, personally speaking, that I think is helpful for myself, for my clients, and for the people that I know, is this idea of gratitude. Now, it might sound kind of cheesy, might sound kind of new agey or whatever, but the reality is that there's some science behind adopting an attitude of gratitude. Because the reality is how we choose to perceive events and think about the world influences our behavior and our overall mood and a quality of our relationships. And believe it or not, the science of psychology and social psychology, neuroscience is now looking deeper into this idea of how our perception of events and ourselves shapes the way we function, even down to how our brain functions. So I want to talk a little bit about gratitude in terms of what it does for us in terms of the research, because again, that's my background, so I want to speak from that. So we know a couple of things in terms of gratitude. The field of positive psychology in particular is very, very interested in gratitude. And what we know, or what we're beginning to know and confirm, is kind of the basic benefits of gratitude. One of the basic benefits of gratitude is just overall life satisfaction. There's research showing that if we adopt an attitude of gratitude towards different events, we're actually more likely to have a greater quality of life in terms of how we see the world. And one study I found even showed that despite our personality differences, despite whether we're more extroverted, introverted, whether we're more neurotic, things like that, if we adopt gratitude as an attitude, we can actually have a better sense of well-being. And that's kind of cool because, again, it's a ubiquitous thing. It's useful for everyone. And I like tips, skills, ideas that are useful for just everyone. The second thing that gratitude seems to show in the research is that gratitude is highly associated with pro-social behavior. There have been a couple of studies that I found that show people who engage in daily gratitude activities and exercises are more likely to be helpful and more likely to engage in what they call altruistic behaviors, things that are for the sake of other people despite ourselves. Giving, charity, helping other people, volunteering. If we adopt an attitude of gratitude, we might be able to engage in more useful, socially, helpful behaviors. So that's the second thing that gratitude shows in the research. The third thing that gratitude research is showing is it's showing kind of a relationship between relationship quality and kind of relationship maintenance. Some studies that I found show that people who engage in daily gratitude exercises build relationships easier and also maintain them a lot longer and maintain them in a more fluid and healthy way. Because again, a lot of our relationships are characterized by set dynamics and set patterns. However, once we engage in kind of a cognitive exercise of gratitude, we actually develop an easier time navigating relationships because our mind is focused on different aspects of the relationship that we wouldn't necessarily think about if we're just angry at someone or just afraid or what have you in the moment. Because like I always talk about, when we're afraid, fear is my thing, when we're engaged in fear, all of our frontal thinking parts of the brain are kind of offline to an extent. And the research shows that people who are more engaged in gratitude are more easily able to be socially and cognitively flexible because, again, they can think through things. And that comes to the fourth point and the fourth reason why gratitude is kind of a useful and ubiquitous thing. So there have been a few studies, not a whole lot, but there have been a few studies about how our brain functions, how our mind functions whenever we engage in a cognitive exercise of gratitude. That could be a gratitude-based meditation or just developing a gratitude list in the morning, which I'll talk a little bit more about in a couple of minutes. But the research shows something very interesting. So our brain is fascinating and multifaceted. And different parts of the brain are responsible for different types of sensing and perceiving and thinking about the world. So up in our frontal area is all of our thinking and planning and reasoning and all those different things. What we know from the science, the neuroscience of researching gratitude, is that when we express gratitude and when we engage in gratitude activities, it actually helps our mind focus in the parts of the brain responsible for thinking about relationships, be more positively focused and function more efficiently. It also shows that if we think about gratitude, we're more likely to have a positive outlook on our relationships because of the brain areas that it works on. There's this wonderful, brilliant guy named Damasio who's been researching the brain for all sorts of different things for years and years. And he did a study to try and pinpoint what areas of the brain exactly light up whenever we're thinking about gratitude or engaging in gratitude in the moment. And what he found was there are two parts of the brain up in the front that are responsible for our perception and our thinking about and processing of gratitude. One's the anterior cingulate, and one is the medial prefrontal cortex. These two areas are very unique, and they're responsible for a couple of very important social behaviors. So the anterior cingulate cortex is basically responsible for processing feelings and thinking through things in social situations. And then that second area I mentioned is the medial prefrontal cortex, middle prefrontal, and it's highly attuned to our social interactions and the consequences of our behavior. So what happens is, oh, hey, Monique, glad you joined. Thanks for coming out. I'm talking about gratitude and the neuroscience of gratitude. And I'm really interested in how the brain works in this way. So the reality is that our brain is really highly focused on different things in social situations. And when the brain's focused on gratitude, what we find is the brain functions more efficiently in terms of thinking through positive situations and social situations, and is more apt to think of the social consequences of our behavior in terms of, if I do something, will it have a positive benefit for me? As opposed to kind of when we're in a bad mood and we're not thinking about, hey all, I'm glad you're coming out, appreciate it. Michelle and Colleen, thank you for coming. I'm talking about the neuroscience of gratitude. So what the research shows in terms of the neuroscience side is whenever we're actually engaged in a gratitude exercise or in a mindset of gratitude, we're more likely to perceive things positively and perceive that we're going to have positive consequences as a result of being in gratitude and engaging in kindness activities. So it's really cool that it is a fantastic subject, absolutely. because we don't think of it very often. We don't think of gratitude very much at all. We tend to kind of run away from it. And I think the more we engage in a little bit of gratitude, the better our life can get, you know? So yeah, there's a lot of research going into gratitude nowadays, especially in the field of positive psychology. But I just want to reinforce the brain side of it, which is just like we always think and what we always talk about, whatever we focus on is what we become, right? Like that's the philosophy behind things like The Secret and what have you. So when it comes to gratitude, that's kind of true in the sense that if we think about gratitude or being grateful or engaging in a gratitude exercise, we absolutely will try and focus on events that will have a positive outcome and a positive consequence. And I think the reverse is also true. If we focus on negative events and possible negative consequences, we're very, very likely to get a negative outcome. So our mindset, especially in terms of how it makes the brain function, definitely dictates how we go forward in our day and in our interactions. So that's gratitude in its essence. Just to recap again, gratitude is good for pro-social behavior. It's good for, thanks for sharing, Colleen, really appreciate it. Gratitude is good for pro-social behavior, that's what the research shows. Gratitude is good for healthier relationships. It also allows for easier maintenance of relationships and also allows for easier building of relationships, which is very difficult for us. We're very disconnected in many, many ways. So in order for us to get better connected, one simple trick, is to try adopting an attitude of gratitude. And it doesn't have to be a lot. So here's a simple gratitude exercise I try and engage in when it actually comes across my mind. I'm not very successful, but I'm trying. I'm growing, I'm learning. And the more I do this gratitude stuff, the better my day goes. So this morning, for instance, I woke up, was thinking about my day, this post, this video today, and I just ran through a simple gratitude list. I ran through four categories of things to be grateful for. Situations and myself. So what qualities of myself am I grateful for? I thought about what different experiences I'm grateful for. What have I gone through that I'm grateful for? I thought about what people am I grateful for? And then what things? So if you need an acronym for building a gratitude list, maybe you can write it down or you can think about it in the morning or meditate on it like a lot of Buddhists do. You just need to remember the acronym STEP. Self-characteristics, things, experiences, and people. These are the four biggest things in our lives, really. What we think of ourselves, what things we have, what experiences we've had, and what people that are in our life. So I'm very grateful for all sorts of people in my life. I have mentors like John Daly, Angela Chanter, my current boss, my friends, my relationships, family. These people I'm very grateful for because they've helped me get to this point where I'm a doctor and I'm living a good life and I have the ability to come share positivity and help people heal. I'm very grateful for these people. They've helped me get here. I'm very grateful for lots of experiences, my different training experiences, what I've read, how I've shaped my mind. I'm very grateful for all the different positive and negative experiences that I've been through because they've all shaped me. Relationship struggles, relationship successes, networking, for business successes, for business failures. I learned from so much, and all these experiences, if I'm in a correct mindset, an attitude of gratitude, I can actually use these to inform my life in a better way. I'm very grateful for this technology that I have to share with you guys and be connected with you as much as possible. I'm very grateful for the guitar, all these things that help me, these books, everything that helps me have a better wellness lifestyle. I'm grateful for all these things. And then for myself, I'm grateful for my mind. I'm grateful for the fact that I've made it this far. I'm grateful for the fact that I can take care of myself physically. I ran 6 miles this morning. I'm grateful for all the things about myself that have helped me get to a lifestyle of wellness and are helping me continue to build a lifestyle of wellness. Not in an arrogant way. These are just the things, the qualities about myself that help me succeed and help me live a better life. And that's really, really important. So this has been about 15 minutes of gratitude. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you find me on Patreon here in a little bit. I'm going to post this video and post my research that I talked about here. Well, not my research, or the research I use to kind of support what I'm saying here. Please feel free to check it out, and I really appreciate you all coming out. I'm very grateful for you coming out. So just a reminder, a couple minutes of gratitude a day can drastically shape our outcome in that day. How we see the world, how we see ourselves, how we negotiate our relationships. It's a very cool thing how just one little tweak in how we see the world can shape our perception and the way we interact with people. It kind of seems like a no-duh, but there's actually science to support why it makes sense, because it activates these brain areas and gets them moving in a positive direction. So that's gratitude. I'm Dr. Patrick Lockwood. Yes, STEP. Fantastic. Thank you. I appreciate that. I just came up with it off the top of my head this morning. STEP. And I hope I continue to use it. Please use it. Go for it. I think it's made my life better, and I hope it makes anyone else who sees its life better. So, thank you all for coming. Really appreciate you sharing this with me, and I will be talking to you again soon about wellness, fear, my book coming up in a couple months, and how to have a better life. Thanks.